Hello, everybody. This is just a video that I want to put together to help you guys succeed. You all have to put together a 10-minute presentation defending a proposition or disagreeing with the proposition in your debate. And I know that that can be a little bit scary because you're going to have to speak for 10 minutes. And I have a little sort of slideshow here, PowerPoint presentation with a few tips that might be able to help you get through it a little bit easier. 10 minutes actually isn't that long if you organize it and structure it the right way. So, because my goal is that, you guys, everybody comes and puts together a really good, strong debate that you can feel proud of afterwards. So I'm just going to go through and share a couple things or talk about a few things that have kind of helped me learn how to lecture and communicate things in front of groups. And because I used to be really scared when I first started to have to speak in front of larger groups. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. And you guys are going to have to do quite a bit of presentations, quite a lot of those during your 3-year period here in the bachelor's program. A lot of the classes require presentation work. So it's something that is, you guys want to sort of figure out how to deal with and manage. So let me just go through this. And I'm using Zoom right now, which we may use in our classes, our online stuff, but we'll see. So here's what we're going to talk about with preparing your presentation. These 5 things: planning, the structure, your body language when you're speaking. This is actually a little more pertinent or important when we're meeting in class, but even in a online situation, it's good to have strong body language, your verbal delivery, slides and visuals, and of course, then preparing a presentation in English, which I know is a challenge for you guys because English is not your first language, it's your second language. So let's just start off with planning. So now the first thing you guys want to do is the more you plan, the better it will be. And what does that planning mean? It means that like you want to break your presentation down into a few different parts. You want to have an open, you want to have a middle, and you want to have an end. And you want to fill up each part with the relative information. And that, so you know when you're in your presentation that where you're going. If you know where you're going, it's going to help you. So you want to plan ahead. You want to think through things. Excuse me. One of these things is ask questions about your topic. Okay. Don't, spend time with it. Ask questions about whatever that theme is. Remember, you may have a proposition that you don't necessarily agree with. Today, I'm going to use the proposition that, let's just say if I was in a debate, the proposition is Czech food is unhealthy. Czech food is unhealthy. Now, and I'm going to support that. I'm going to agree with that proposition. So if I want to put together a 10-minute debate, I can't just say like, oh, Czech food is unhealthy. Come on, smažák. Everyone knows smažák. And like prdelačka, it's really bad for you. Everyone knows that. No, I have to ask questions. I have to go a little deeper. I have to kind of peel back the onion a bit more. I need to get some data. I need to maybe figure out or want to figure out like what the Czech healthcare system looks like. What is the lifespan? I want to ask questions about my topic from a variety of different points of view so I can learn, because the more I learn, the more I'm going to be prepared and the more confident I'm going to feel during my presentation. So asking questions is really, really, let your mind wander, ask as many questions as you want. Another thing is this goes hand in hand, is you want to become an expert. I actually feel like I'm an expert on Czech food being unhealthy. That's just because I've lived here so long. I've come to enjoy it and enjoy Czech food. But yeah, let's face it, tlačenka isn't probably the healthiest food. Smažák, tatarka, hranolky. These things aren't probably the healthiest food, you know. So, but whatever your topic is, become an expert on it, research it, look at videos online. You have all the information in the world at your fingertips, use it. The more you know, the more confident and the more comfortable you're going to feel in talking about whatever your theme or topic is. So another thing I've learned is that what you don't want to do if you can avoid it, and I know you guys are young and you know you want to wait till the last minute before you put your presentation together in the debate, but the idea of incubating your ideas. An incubator, I believe you know what that is. It's the same in English as it is in Czech. And you kind of want to start working and thinking about it, thinking about whatever your topic is. And, you know, I'm not saying you have to sit down and make notes and write about it, but the more you start to think about it, you can think about it when you're playing a video game. You can think about it when you're on a bus. You can think about it when you're on a walk. You can think about it when you're doing your exercises, and just let those ideas and let those things incubate. You don't have to organize it right away, but a lot of times people say, especially writers say this, is that the majority of my work isn't done at the table when I'm writing. It's done when I'm away from the table thinking about it. And this is the idea of incubate. So give yourself a chance to think about the ideas. You can think about it when you're drinking beer or doing whatever you guys do, you know, and just like, you know, throw it out, talk to the idea with a friend of yours or whatever, but let the ideas kind of percolate and boil a little bit. Let them incubate, because then when you come down to organizing it, you'll realize you have more there than you thought. Now, structure. Structure of your 10-minute debate, your segment is make it as simple as possible. Make it as simple as possible. And if you create a structure where let's talk about it in a very simple way. We have an opening, we have a three-part structure here. We have an opening, a body, and the conclusion. So the opening is like you're going to tell us what your position is. You want to make it clear that you either agree or disagree with the proposition. All right, this is in your opening. This is just your stating as a matter of fact. It's like, for me, Czech food is unhealthy, and I am going to support that proposition. That's my opening. All right, and you want to have what I call a killer opening, which means you want to have like what really excellent speakers do is they have this thing called the hook. A hook is like maybe your first or second sentence, and it helps you like, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but for me, a hook might be like, you know, more Czechs die from heart disease and stomach cancer than all of Europe combined. So now that's a hook. That's something that gets your attention. It's like, you know, and I'm going to say like, and the reason that they die from health disease or heart disease and intestinal cancer is because of their diet. You know, we can pick apart the diet. That's my hook. My hook is that like Czechs have you know, a very specific problem with heart disease and intestinal medicine that others in Europe don't have. That's my hook. That's what I'm trying to say to get your attention. And in your presentation, create something like that. It can be provocative. It can be, you know, you can offend us even a little bit. That's fine. It's okay to be offensive and be provocative in your presentation. That's actually good because you can get someone's attention. So now, and this goes with the same thing, you want to start strong. You want to really grab our attention when you start out. And then, you know, once you have our attention and once we trust you, the viewer, we'll go with you. Now, the second part is when you have a body. It's the body of your work. And this is like sort of where you're going to lay out your arguments. You're going to lay out like your assertions. You're going to lay out your evidence. You're going to lay out the information that you gathered during your research. And you are just going to strongly and succinctly tell us what that evidence is in your body. You're going to go over it. So sometimes you can have like 5 pieces of evidence. You can have 10, you can have 3, and then you can discuss them. You can talk about, go into each part, each sort of argument within your body into a little more detail. And remember, you don't need to kill us with all kinds of like facts and figures and big words. Keep it simple. Keep your ideas, fairly easy for us as a viewer to look at and consume. That's going to be really helpful for you if you can do that, not only in this class, but as you have to put together presentations. Don't confuse us with too much data. Data is good, but keep the data simple only insofar as it helps us. This is why I always say less is more. Sometimes, we like to think that if the more information we give, like we're going to carpet bomb them and they're going to, really get it and it's going to be great. But sometimes when we have, like a little less spice in the goulash is actually a little tastier. And if we overspice it, it like everything sort of blands together and it has no taste whatsoever. So keep that in mind. What you want is good spice, not too much spice in your presentation. Now, and then you got to come to a conclusion. And this is something where when your conclusion is basically let's go back to here. Your conclusion is you're going to sum up. You're going to sum up like basically what the first two parts of your presentation were about. You're going to like reiterate your evidence, your reasons, your strongest reasons. You're gonna say them to us again, and then and at the end you can like conclude with like and this is why I believe that chef food on the whole is unhealthy, and I only eat at McDonald's because McDonald's is healthy. So if I have like all of these reasons that I can come back to and use again in my conclusion, then hopefully I can convince you that my point of view is correct. And remember, that's your main goal, is you want to convince the people watching your debate that your point of view is correct. Your point of view is correct. Now, body language is something, usually when you do a debate in person, it's something that helps you communicate. I know that you've heard of this, helps you communicate to other people. You don't want to bend over too much. You don't want to turn your back. You always want to leave your body facing your viewers. And if you maintain a good body language, it helps people understand and digest and accept what you're saying. So this guy, I put him in here because he looks like what I would call a little bit greasy. Like, you're not going to trust him. This is like somebody you'd buy a car from. This is how he's presenting himself. So remember, when you're giving a debate or a presentation, you're presenting yourself a certain way. And whatever that is, be aware of it, take it serious, and that has to do with your clothing, that has to do with how your hair is, what your manner of speech is. And that's important because that impression is going to come across to your viewer or to your lecturers as you make your way through Ouya. So here's somebody who's presenting herself much more professional. I mean, she's working a cash register. She's not like a lawyer or a doctor, but she looks like somebody. She's together, she's dressed well, she's neat, she's groomed. She's got a nice demeanor, and you would trust her more than you would trust that cracker for sure. All right. And so this goes into your appearance. And again, because we're doing online stuff, it's going to be a lot different because, we're not even sure how it's all going to work at this point. But when you do in-class presentations like you're going to be doing down the road, these things are important. Appearances, like how you're groomed, make sure your teeth are brushed, you don't have greasy hair. Nothing worse than like a student coming in and it's like you can tell he's been up all night, he's got bloodshot eyes, he's been boozing, smoking dope, So, try to make yourself somewhat presentable. Hand and body gestures too. This is important. It sounds weird, but people who do a lot of public speaking, they have a few simple rules that they follow. that have been researched, and they really help the speaker connect more to the audience. And that's one of the ideas is like with your hands, it's very good to move your hands, but don't like move them all over. Don't be a distraction. They have this thing that what we can see here called the box, where it's good to move, but keep your hands kind of like within this area. All right, again, that's not going to be so important this semester. Don't wring your hands. That's what this guy's doing. It's a sign that you're nervous. And if you're nervous, and you know, it's normal that you guys are going to be nervous, but there's a way to use your anxiety and nervousness to actually have a better presentation. But if we feel that you're nervous and you're not making it, we're not going to listen to what you're saying. We're just going to be like, oh, that poor guy or girl, she's just so struggling with her nerves, you know. And even though you are nervous, there's things you can do to sort of like kind of mask it a little bit or help yourself get through it. So one is like, don't do these things. Don't touch your face if you can help it. Don't wring your hands like this guy's doing. So what do you do with your body when you're standing up? So moving is good because moving sort of burns up or eats anxiety. When you're nervous, if you're just standing stuck in one place, you know, it can sort of all come over. But I find moving around when I'm in groups of people and I have to talk is actually a big help. It kind of like brings a little fresh air into it. But I can't move too much, you know. If I move too much, then I'm a distraction. But it's good to move a little bit. Maintain eye contact. That's why I put this in here. So, you know, you want to keep your eyes focused on the audience or your viewers. One thing is because you want to read them and you want to see if they're engaged. You're going to be able to tell when you're in person giving a presentation if you're losing your audience or not. And maintaining eye contact is really important and key in that. Here we've got, you know, from Wolf of Wall Street, what's his name, Leonardo DiCaprio. One of the things they always say, look, you know, it's like, this is a guy, he's a con man in the movie, but everybody trusts him, everybody loves him. They will follow him to hell and back. And because look, he's well groomed, he's nice, you know, his hair is proper, he's holding his arms out like this. And this is what they say is like, leave your body open. If you leave your body open in a presentation, it really helps people to connect to you. Don't stand on your side. Don't turn your back to the audience. Don't hang your head down. All right. These are all part of your delivery. Now, what about your verbal delivery? How should you speak? How should you speak? This is hard because for you guys, I understand English is your second language. And what you want to do is not, let's go to this one first. Let's say, find your own voice. All right. So find, and you can do this just by practicing a little bit on your own. It won't take much time, but find how you want to deliver it. How do you want to sort of use your the vocal skills that you have, and everyone has vocal skills, but find that voice and how you're going to deliver it. And if you figure out who that is, it's going to increase your confidence. So again, you don't have to speak super fast. Actually, it's good to take a breath sometimes and slow down a little bit. Let them go with you. Let your viewer go with you. Let us go with you and digest what you're saying. You know, you don't have to just like try to get all the information out as fast as you can. Another thing is in your verbal delivery, just be smart, don't act smart. All right, so there's a difference. A lot of times people act smart and they become, you know, they can be annoying because like a know-it-all and I'm so smart and this kind of thing. But like, just show us that you're smart and show us like in your language that you're smart. You know the vocabulary connected to this, to your topic. You know, you don't like, you're not lording it over us like you're better than us. You're just kind of like giving us, you're including us in your wisdom and knowledge. That's a really good approach. Again, find your own voice. And again, you guys, this is really important. that you should never read your presentation. Okay. Now there's parts where you might have to read a quote or something. That's fine. You can have notes, but don't read your presentation, because people feel that like if you have to read, I mean, if you're giving like a 90-minute lecture, that's one thing. But reading your presentation, a lot of times it automatically puts a barrier between you and the audience. So in this class, what I try to say is don't read your presentation. If you read your presentation, just learn, become an expert on your topic. Get as much information as you can. Have your presentation organized in your mind and use slides or whatever, like similar to what I'm using, and the 10 minutes is going to go really fast. Don't read it. If you read it, you lose points, unfortunately, in this class. And again, don't do this. See this guy? He's like looking at the screen. He's like sideways. He's not looking at the audience. He's just reading from his slides. You don't want to just have a bunch of slides and read from them. You want to keep your face and the front of your body out towards your viewer as much as possible, as much as you can. So connect. You want to connect to the people you're trying to communicate with, sorry. Like, and that's like something, no matter where you are, in or out of UYEP or whatever, but if you can connect and communicate with people, especially like what we're trying to do in English, that's a real advantage for you. That's like something that's going to open up a lot of opportunities for you. Now, slides and visuals. Now, a lot of times they're really good. We can use them and they help us. They give a structure in what we need to say. If we get lost, we can kind of go to a slide and it brings us back. But there's a lot of things in slides and visuals that can lead us astray, that can kind of take us down the wrong path. So I just want to touch on a couple things like that. So first of all, it's clear, pretty clear, the psychologists have figured out that we do absorb information visually. Okay, there's all kinds of ways we absorb it, but we absorb it visually. We look, this is kind of standard. It's obvious. Here's a few examples. So now there's no text here. There's a photo of deep space. It creates a certain mood in everybody. You kind of notice it. People react to it differently. Not everyone's going to react to it the same way. Some people find it mysterious. Other people find it kind of scary. Other people find it exciting, beautiful, all these things. All right. But this is all of that emotion is being connected to us visually. All right. So in your slides, you want to remember that. You want to pay attention to like that sort of emotion or idea or things that we can learn visually. Here's another slide of this visual experience is completely different than the one we saw before. Some people would say that, oh, this makes me feel sad. This makes me feel reminiscent of my own grandmother. This makes me feel warm and reminds me of like my grandma's, kolach or something. So, and then here's another visual. Again, there's no words here. There's nothing. That's just like these chickens in a cage. Like some people are going to look at this and they'll be like, yo, chicken sandwich. Other people will look at this and be like, just disgusting. They're basically, these chickens never leave that cage and they're cooped together and then they're slaughtered. So, we can have courgettes at Christmas instead of kapar. All right. And then here is another. These are all visuals. So my point is like, this is like adventure, it's beauty, all these things. These are, we understand and we interact with the world visually. So when you're putting slides together, keep that in mind. So and fonts and colors. So a lot of times you're going to be tempted to use like a tricky looking font with an orange color, and you're going to be like, oh yeah, this is going to be great. Don't do it. The simpler your slides are, the least amount of text you have on it, and easily readable. Choose a font that we can read immediately, because what do we want to take in? We just want to take in the information that's there, and then we want to focus our attention back on you. We don't want to be stuck trying to figure out a crazy weird font with like all sorts of curly cues and flowers and stuff on our visual. So here's an example of a really, really bad sort of slide from a presentation about cars. Way too much text. I'd say every slide you make should have just a minimum of 7, 8 words if possible. And it isn't something that you want your viewer to read. You just want them to get a main idea and then listen to you. All right. Now, graphs. Graphs should be something that are, if you're going to use a graph, which I'm not against, but make sure that they're simple and easily understood. You don't want a graph like this that's going to take your viewer 10 minutes to figure out what's going on, and they never do figure it out, and they're not paying attention to you because they're like looking at this crazy weird graph. This is better than this, even though that is more complicated and looks like, you know, it's 3D and everything. So how do you deal with stress and anxiety? Now, you guys are going to feel that, you know, that's normal. That's to be expected, you know. Let me just say, with stress and anxiety, it's absolutely almost everyone feels a little bit of that before, when you first start having to give public presentations or delivering lessons in front of a group. And one of the things you have to accept is that it's normal, all right? It's nothing unusual. For some people, it's more stressful than other people, but everyone feels a level of anxiety. From my own personal experience, I've realized that sometimes the more anxiety I feel, the better my presentation is, as long as I'm prepared. So what really deals with the stress and anxiety is, the more I know my topic, the more of an expert I am on my topic. I'm going to be nervous before, but normally as soon as I start, boom, and I get a few minutes in, I'm like, all right, I know this, I got this, I can do this. I've done the work. So the work and the research is really what helps you deal with the stress and anxiety. And that's something that you can use like all the way through life and all the way through other presentations you're going to have to give here at UYEP. Now, questions, which we'll see how that goes, because we're still in this strange semester here, and we're figuring out how interactive this is going to be. But you know, answering questions is actually, I usually find it a lot of fun, because it means that, you know, I've reached the end of my presentation, and now I get to see how people responded. But there's always some people who are kind of looking for a fight, you know, and they're like, they don't like my point of view. They don't think that Czech food is unhealthy. And they think that, you know, I'm being really hard on Czechs by saying that Czechs have the unhealthiest, untastiest food in all of Europe. And they take it personal. And they're like, you've never had my, you know, grandma's svíčková. And I'm like, well, yeah, I've had, you know, and so I've had svíčková, but I've had, you know, not your grandma's, but, you know, and like, so there's, you know, you're going to have, you may have to deal with these people. Generally, probably not too much. But one thing to do is kind of just deflect, you know, from them, and not buy into their aggression, not buy into their aggression. And again, this is kind of a wrap up thing that I like to bring up, is like, when you're giving your presentation, and this will be obviously much harder to do because we're doing it online, but in person, don't lose your audience. Do what you can. Use all the things I've talked a little bit about today: eye contact, know your material, don't speak too fast, don't go too slow, and include your audience, bring them in. Because if you lose your audience, then, you know, all the work you've done you can kind of go up in smoke, and, you know, you're not able to communicate the ideas that you want to communicate. Now, doing a presentation in English, which is, I just basically have one simple rule, and that is use the English you know. All right. So now you guys all should be speaking English at a certain level at this point. And, this isn't a class where I'm expecting you to, improve from, an upper intermediate to an advanced right away. This is about using the English you're comfortable with now. Of course, get some new vocabulary. When you're researching your topic, you're going to come across some terms and things. Use that. Use vocabulary in your presentation. That's fine. You can teach us new words. That's all good. But don't get hung up. Don't get hung up on the oh, I hope I have the right grammar tense here, right verb tense. Find a way to communicate the idea that you have in the English you know. Because really what's more important is your idea. The most important thing we have in communication is what we communicate. Those are ideas, and ideas are incredibly profound and important. And hopefully at UYEP here during your time, you'll get exposed to lots of new ideas, lots of ways of looking at history and literature and methodology in English in ways that you haven't before. So those ideas are just as important, if not more important, than the difference between present perfect and past perfect and present continuous. So as far as this goes, just use that English you know. Feel comfortable with that, all right? And again, practice makes perfect. So if you are nervous about your presentation, go over it in your head. You could even practice it a day or two before we will meet up online to talk about it. So also, if you do any slides, make sure you spell them. Again, because spell them correctly. Here we have obviously good and right. On it's not spelled correctly. Because what you don't want to do is use a spell check. You don't, if something's misspelled, then people notice it immediately. And they're like, oh, this person misspelled it. They're thinking about that, and they're not thinking about what you're trying to communicate to them. So again, your slides, keep them as simple and straightforward as possible. Use them to help you move your way through your presentation. Remember, there's 3 parts of your presentation, right? There's the get the hook, the open, the body, and then the conclusion. All right, and prepare, do your research, become an expert, and have fun. Look at your topic, be provocative. You can provoke us a little bit. That's fine. This is not about that. You can choose a topic with your partner that provokes us a bit, and that's good. That's good. Make us think about things like in ways that we haven't thought about before. So, and again, remember, you don't, if you're in your topic you choose with your partner, you don't have to defend a position you really agree with. Maybe I don't think Czech food is unhealthy, but that's the position that I have to defend in my debate. And so I'm going to go and research that and still try to convince you that Czech food is unhealthy, even though I don't think it's unhealthy. I actually do like Czech soup. I mean, like, you guys have good soup, I'll admit. Czech soup is good. Zelnačka, the bean soup, lentil, chochka, that's good stuff. All right. So again, that's not what's important. That you support that you really believe in the position you're defending. What you want to do is learn arguments, learn how to build an argument, like hopefully you've looked at in the Doodle or in the Moodle. So that's basically all I have. And I'll be, so the main thing is you guys go out, have fun with the class, and become an expert.